Okay guys, just going to run you through creating a simple Corian taonga, like a pendant. So what we have here, we've got our recycled material, which is called Corian. It's a hard plastic material, very similar properties to bone. And when we cut it out and shape it and polish it, it comes up almost identical to bone. So I've already made an MDF prototype. Here's my MDF prototype. And I'm just about to then use my little template here to create one out of Corian. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to draw the shape close to this side so that somebody else might be able to use this extra bit of Corian here. So, you know, we're trying to minimize waste the whole time. So I'm just going to draw this out, copy this out, draw around this little stencil, and then I'm going to go and cut it out on the scroll saw. And there we have it. So I'm not too worried about the inside bit so much because I can draw that myself, and I can draw that down, and we can shape a lot of this out with our multi-tool. So I might even make the gap bigger. So I'm just going to sharpen up some of these edges. So that's our rough shape that we're going to go and cut out. Over to the scroll saw. So what I've got on this scroll saw, I've got a very fine blade on it. So heaps of teeth, I'm not sure on the TPI, but it's very high. The scroll saw blade is very, very fragile. So we need to be quite gentle with this when we're cutting. So we don't push very hard. We're just going very gently, letting the saw do the work. I've got my eye protection on, and I'm going to have it on quite a high speed just to cut through the material, and it should be fine. So here we go. So here we have the basic outline, and as you can see, it's still very rough. So the next stage is to use a multi-tool on this, maybe a file, a fine file, just to shape it down. We want to take the 90-degree kind of corners off the edge. So we're trying to really round the edge off, and hopefully that will become clear when you start to see me shaping this. So once we've got our design cut out of Corian, what we're going to look to do now is use a rotary tool to start shaping the edges. As you can see, this is very tight on the edge here, so I may use a different style tool, a bit on the end of the rotary tool to shape that bit. But at the moment I'm using like a cylinder head, a cylinder grinding head, and I'm just going to slowly go around the edges of my shape, my Hei Matau, my fish hook, until I've removed enough material. So as you can see, quite quickly, I've been able to remove that the two 90-degree corners, and I've began to round off the Corian. I was quite aggressive with my diagonal grind, and that was because I really wanted to start really taking that back and tapering it off, and I will even more. So what I'm going to do is continue that all the way around my fishhook, and I'll get on the inside and I'll do that as well. And then after that, because it's going to be quite rough using a rotary tool, we'll go to a coarse grade sandpaper, and then we'll probably finish with wet and dry, and then give it a polish at the end.
So now that we've finished shaping our Corian with the rotary tool, we're going to move on to the sanding stage. Now I could use a file if I wanted to shape some of these areas further, although sometimes that can take off too much material. So what we're going to do is we're just going to start with 240 sandpaper, which is fairly fine, and then we'll work our way all the way up to possibly 1500 wet and dry. So we'll go 240 and then see how we go. So we can use different techniques. We can keep our sandpaper on the desk. You might hold the Corian in your hand and work it this way. Ultimately, we're trying to really even out the shape and any bumps that have been caused by the rotary tool. So already we're getting quite a nice smooth finish here, which is great. It's what we're looking for. Having the sandpaper on the desk is a great way for the fishhook design to get that nice smooth curve on the bottom. Now the back of my Corian is quite rough because I cut the Corian down on a bandsaw. So what I'm going to do is actually put the whole piece on the sandpaper and give it a nice workout, trying to take off some of those rough edges. You can see that's had quite an effect already. When it comes to doing the inside pieces here, what I like to do is fold over my sandpaper and really try to get in on this edge like this and really work the sandpaper. This would be a good area if you had a really small file that was capable of giving a nice fine finish. As you can see, we're really beginning to get a nice smooth edge on this bottom. I need to do some work on the inside. So another top little tip, if we're doing the fishhook design and we're trying to get into this area here and you don't have a file handy, you can roll up your sandpaper in a small little roll like this and really work into that gap and angle, and that's going to give us that nice curved rounded finish on the inside there. So as you can see, got a little bit of sanding to go, but we're almost getting into wet and dry territory. It's feeling quite smooth already. So now that we're reasonably happy with the finish we've got with 240, we're just going to move to some 400 grit wet and dry. So this is really easy. All we do is wet our sandpaper, and we can then just keep sanding. And just at intervals, just keep rinsing your sandpaper. And this is going to give us a really nice finish at the end. And already that's feeling really smooth. You can probably see the shine. So this finish is going to be great on this Corian, and we can probably polish it up at the end using our polishing wheel to get a lovely smooth finish. So I've only been sanding this with the 400 wet and dry for about 2 minutes, and already we've got a great finish. Now, because this is just an example, I'm not going to go any harder than this. So what we'll do is we'll dry it up, and if we need it, we'll give it a quick polish. Okay, so once we've finished our Corian design, we need to tie it up. So there's a number of different ways of tying up a taonga or a pendant. I'm just going to show you a simple way. I haven't sealed the end of this, as you can see. It's a bit frayed, but we'll just crack on nonetheless. So I'm using about 900 millimeters, about 90 centimeters of 1.5 mil polyester here. You can go thinner if you like. And it's very, very simple. What we're going to do, so we can have an adjustable tie, is that we just take one of the strings and we go over the other, and we're just going to do a half hitch, just like that. And that means that this knot can move up and down this piece, like this. And the second knot we tie here. And we're just doing another half hitch here. Now, you could seal this half hitch off and do another knot. But basically, at the moment, we can change the size just by pulling these little strings here. So you can put it around your neck and make it shorter or longer. So pretty easy. If you need to watch that again, just rewind the video. So hopefully this has given you a little insight into how we can reuse a material like Corian. All the material that we're using are offcuts and would have gone to landfill. So we're repurposing and reusing this material. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. And as always, any suggestions, comments, positive ones only, please leave them in the comment section below.